This episode of Walt Disney World Today is being brought to you by Owner's Locker, which is a great service for storing, all your junk. We all have junk. Newell's got junk. I got junk. And we bring a lot of it to Walt Disney World. So why don't you, next time you go to Walt Disney World, why don't you leave all that stuff you bring, all the deodorant and the laundry stuff and all that other junk that you bring with you every single time in Walt Disney World, leave it in Disney World. Owner's Locker is a great service that can store it for you and then bring it for you to your resort on your next trip. So why not give them a try? Visit them at www.ownerslocker.com.
This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Monday, March 10th, 2008, and this is episode 381 of Walt Disney World Today. I'm Matt Hochberg from StudioCentral.com. On the show today, we have Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. Hi, Mike.
You always surprise me when you come to me first. I'm sorry. Hi.
Try to keep it lively over here. Also here is Len Testa, co-author of the Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World. Hi, Len.
How's it going, Matt?
Outstanding. Also on the show, we have Mike Scopa of allears.net. Hi, Mike.
Hey, do you guys know the difference between crocodiles and alligators?
No.
No,
The
go
crocodiles are made of plastic and the alligators are made of fiberglass.
ahead. Jungle Cruise.
Yeah.
That's
Very
awesome.
nice. And also joining us tonight, we have Michael Scabetta, who is a Illuminations cruise driver. Hi, Mike.
Good evening, everybody.
Michael, you've worked for Walt Disney World for quite a bit, and you have quite a bit of history in terms of aquatic-based possibilities for Disney World. Why don't you tell us how you started working with Walt Disney World and how you got, because right now you're an Illuminations cruise driver, as I mentioned before, but you didn't start out that way.
No, funny story. My full-time job transferred me to Central Florida, and I was traveling back and forth from New Jersey for at least 2 years. And every night, instead of sitting in the hotel room, I find myself driving over to downtown Disney and just sitting around and walking around and enjoying the sights. And then when I finally relocated down to Central Florida, we rented a house pretty close to Disney up in the Dr. Phillips area.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that.
We got annual passes for me, my wife, and the 2 kids. And we were spending a lot of time at Walt Disney World. About a year and a half later, one night going to one of the very Merry Christmas parties, sitting at the entrance to the Magic Kingdom, and my wife jokingly says, "Why don't you just get a job here?" And I looked at her and said, "Are you serious? Can I?" And she said, "Sure. The kids will be going away to college soon. We can use the extra money." And I said, "Just so happens I saw an ad in the paper today." It was that weekend edition of the Orlando Sentinel. And they were looking to hire ushers for something new called the Disney Institute. And I sent a resume in.
Mm-hmm.
And they treated Disney Institute a little differently. I didn't go through the casting center. I actually got interviewed by the entertainment department. And that was in Celebration at the time, which was a newly opened building. The business, the homes weren't even open yet. And I started as an usher for the evening performances. We had 3 venues, the acoustic hall, the outdoor stadium, and the movie theater. And I'll tell you, it was a heck of a ride for the first year. We had name entertainers almost every single night of the week.
Now, Michael, why don't you explain to some of our listeners, I'm sure many don't remember, what the Disney Institute was.
Disney Institute was an idea that Eisner had about a learning, teaching environment at Walt Disney World. They took, does anybody remember what hotel that area that was that they built the Disney Institute?
I stayed there.
Villas?
I stayed there on my
Villas.
honeymoon. No, it was I stayed there on my honeymoon. Oh my God! If I forget this, I'm such trouble.
See,
It was
that's my fault.
the Village Resort, wasn't it? Disney's Village Resort.
The Village Resort. I believe that's right.
Ooh,
It was near the
I get a
Golf
thing for
course.
that.
And the way Disney rounded out the entertainment was during the day you take classes. They had cooking classes, animation classes, acting classes, and then at night they would offer one performance at 8:00, and it could be a variety of things. We had singers, dancers, tap dancers, musicians, orchestras. Every night it was different. Unfortunately, they just couldn't compete with the parks. At least that was my opinion.
That's a shame.
Yeah,
It was a
They might-
great idea.
We know that one of the lowlights of your career was the night that you met Len Tester at the Yachtsman Steakhouse. What was some of the highlights of your career?
Remember, we can't talk about me and Mariah Carey. Remember, we have that legal disclosure thing. Go ahead.
That's true.
Well, at the Disney Institute one week, we had Andy Garcia for the whole week at Disney Institute. Every night we were doing something a little different. And one night we were showing Godfather 3 at the movie theater. Now, you know that's a long movie. I was working
Very
that night.
long movie.
And at 8 o'clock, when we're about to start the film, Andy Garcia is nowhere to be found. Nobody knows where he is. So we're trying to decide. Well, I'm just an usher. I wasn't trying to decide anything. But they decided to start the movie. We saved the last row for him so that when he did show up, we'd get him in and then do the Q&A afterwards. About 20 minutes into the film, a gray van pulls up in front of the theater, and out jumps Andy Garcia and the three Lawrence brothers. Apparently, they were out to dinner.
Whoa.
They come walking in, and Joey Lawrence says, "Oh, they started the movie. I don't know what's going on. I've never seen this movie." So I'm standing in their lobby, and Andy Garcia acts out the first 20 minutes of Godfather 3 to catch Joey Lawrence up. Right up to the part where he bites the guy's nose off while he's dancing with him. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, this is fantastic. I can't believe I'm standing here getting paid whatever, $7 an hour to watch Andy Garcia perform.
That's awesome.
It was really...
And Andy Garcia isn't the only celebrity that you've run into while you're working at the Institute, was it?
Oh, no, I ran into a lot. Mel Torme, we did a performance there that I worked with. Neil McCoy, a country singer, Nicolette Larson, authors. It just goes on and on. It was a phenomenal experience. I really wish it would have caught on, because it got to the point where some nights we'd have 8, 10, 12 people in the audience, and it was just like, this is insane, you know?
Right.
And that's probably why it failed.
Now did you go from the Disney Institute to your next position on Breathless, or was there something in between?
I went to Yachtsman Steakhouse after Disney Institute. When they started cutting back, we went from 7 performances a week the first year. Then the second year, we were down to like 3 or 4 performances a week. The third year, when Disney Institute was really on its last legs, we were down to maybe a movie every 6 or 7 days. So between the 14 ushers we had, there wasn't a lot of hours to be doled out. You know, started working about 3 nights a week. Now I'm down to like 1 night a month. And a good friend of mine was working at Yachtsman Steakhouse, and he told me he was getting ready to leave because he was going to be traveling with his full-time job. So he told me to go in and speak to Gabby, the assistant manager. And it was right around Christmas time. I drove over on my lunch hour, and she was just like, "You're already a cast member?" I said, "Yes, I am, at Disney Institute." She goes, "You already got all your ID and everything?" I said, "Yes, I do." She goes, "Can you start tonight?" And I was like, "Sure."
Wow.
Yes.
So I
Sure.
kept my status at Disney Institute, but I was working more hours at Yachtsman Steakhouse. And I started as a greeter, just somebody at the door that would take you to your seat. And I really wasn't looking to do much more than that, because it was just a mindless adventure to me. But eventually I worked my way to the behind the podium, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Meeting just about everybody coming in.
Oh, that's nice.
And that's how I met Len Testa one night.
That's right. That's how we met, right? I was, in fact, I think I was, it was like I had like a 5 o'clock reservation, and it was I think I'd made it for like 4 people, and then I had to beg and plead because it went from like 4 to 8.
Yes, and I think it was the night before Mouse
Boy,
Fest.
that never happens.
Yeah, no, really. And so I go up and I'm like, please, 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 please. And you guys managed to do it too.
Yes, we did. We had a good crew there.
I didn't even have to mention that I was Lou Mangello, which was amazing.
This was at
the high
Mouse Fest?
chair.
Was that at Mouse Fest, Len?
Oh, that's great.
It was like Mouse Fest like 2004, right? I mean, it was way an old Mouse Fest.
I don't know if it was called Mouse Fest yet. What did it? Was it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think it was, but it was one of the first ones that I've ever been to. Yeah, that was good. I really liked the Yachtsman.
So now, Michael, you started driving the Breathless One. Why don't you tell our listeners what it is and how you got over there and all about that?
Well, 9/11 happened, and all of us part-timers basically were told, we have to give all the hours to full-timers, and that was quite understandable. And I could agree with that. I had a full-time job. I could pay my mortgage without my Disney money. So I did not work from September, October into November. There was just no hours for me anywhere, even at Yachtsman Steakhouse. Coincidentally, my daughter, Danielle, was a lifeguard, and she was a coordinator at Wilderness Lodge. So on a Saturday afternoon, I believe it was the Saturday after Thanksgiving, I get a call around 3:30, and she says, "Dad, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, basically nothing, Danielle. Me and your mother are just watching TV here." She goes, "I need you to do me a favor. Come on over here and drive a fireworks cruise." I said, "You want me to do what?" And she said, "Just come over here. We got a 24-foot pontoon boat. I know you know how to drive a pontoon boat. Come on out over here and take out a family to watch the fireworks." I said, "Okay." So my wife goes, "Where you going?" I said, "I'm going to drive a boat." And I went over to Wilderness Lodge and got the costume and went out there. And my 18-year-old daughter takes me out and says, "Just point to the hotels, tell them all that useless trivia you got in your head." She goes, "But most importantly, at 10 o'clock, make sure you're sitting in front of the Magic Kingdom. Watch the fireworks and then try to find your way back and bring the people back at the end of the show." And I really had a great time.
You said, wait, what was that last step again?
Make sure you find your way back.
You have to bring the people back. Oh, okay, all right.
It was, I had a lot of fun. And I said to her, I said, "Danielle, since I'm not working at the steakhouse while, this is going on, if you need me, I'm available." So she started working me into their schedule a little bit. Then as things picked up, the following Christmas time came around, we started picking up. I was working at the steakhouse Friday and Saturday. Whatever nights they needed me at Wilderness Lodge, I was doing, at that time it was still Fantasy in the Sky. That following summer, I met somebody from Illuminations from Epcot, and he said, "We could always use an extra driver over there." And I said, "Hey, put my name on the list." So there was actually a time where I was doing all three: Illuminations, Fantasy in the Sky, and Yachtsman Steakhouse. Until I finally decided that out of everything, I liked working at Illuminations the best. And about 2.5 years ago, moved my status out of the steakhouse and we're under the recreation umbrella there. And that's all I do now. Usually I'm available Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night, but I usually get scheduled Tuesday and Wednesday nights at Illuminations.
Now, Michael, why don't you tell us about why you enjoy being a pontoon boat driver there for Illuminations? What is it that you really, made you choose that particular position over the other potential 3 other positions that you were at one point really working at?
Well, what I like about Illuminations as opposed to the fireworks at the Magic Kingdom is Illuminations is always 9 o'clock, unless it's between Thanksgiving and New Year's Eve where it's 9:30. Magic Kingdom, they could be just about any time it's dark. You might go in one night and it's 9 o'clock. The following night it might be midnight, and then the next night it might be 7:30. So very crazy, hard to juggle your full-time job and your life around not knowing when fireworks were. Illuminations is great. It's a 3-hour shift. We get in at 7. We prep the boats. We meet our guests at 8, take them out, cruise around the lakes for a little while. We try to leave around 8:10, 8:15. Try to pull in about 5-10 minutes before the fireworks start, watch the fireworks, and then take them back. It's low stress. You basically got to deal with one family per night. Whereas at the steakhouse, I had to deal with all 500 or 600 people coming in and out of the door, whether their food was cold or their table wasn't right or whatever. So it's really a great job.
I was working at the steakhouse though, because I know over the years it became better than just a steak place in the yacht club. It really rose to be a premier one of the better steak places in the Orlando area. Albeit expensive. But for many nights, for me at least, it was preferable to going there versus Shula's.
Oh, I very I still think the Yachtsman Steakhouse is one of the best Disney restaurants. I would say at least in the top 3 or 4 Disney restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
We always had a great staff. Believe it or not, the head chef really has a big impact on how well the steakhouse does, as also with the manager, whoever the head manager is at the time. And there was a time when Disney was rotating 4 managers around between Yachtsman Steakhouse, Citrico's, Artist Point, and Flying Fish. So usually one of those 4 would be moving to one of the others. And I met a lot of great people, and even the service staff. I would say a good 80% of the servers you see on the floor at the Yachtsman Steakhouse have been there. Some of them since it first opened, and most of them at least 6-7 years.
Wow.
Say, Mike, can you talk a little bit about the difference between doing Illuminations tour on a pontoon boat and driving the Breathless? What was the difference, and what did you like between the two of them?
Well, Breathless is it's not always a thrill ride. You gotta just like on the pontoon boat, you have to feel out your group. You know, some people come on a boat and they want to ask you every crazy question or verify every rumor they've ever heard, and go that route for the hour that they're with you. Sometimes you might get 2 families that have been split up for the whole day, and they get on the boat and they're mostly talking to each other about, what you do today, So it's hard for me to say that I never follow a script at all. I basically try to get a quick feeling for my group. What do they want to talk about? What interests them? And then, if it's trivia, if it's different things that I've noticed about the Imagineers, what they've done, what's the tallest structure on Disney property, those kind of things. But Breathless, too. Sometimes you've got a couple they just want to enjoy the ride. They just want to cruise out there and just almost like show it off. Like, wow, look at us. We're in this beautiful boat and we're cruising along. I have like 5 or 6 different CDs that I keep in my bag. And, one of them's all Disney music. One of them's Jimmy Buffett music. One of them's Frank Sinatra music. One of them's romantic music. Again, trying to gauge what do these people want to do? What are they here for? How can I make this a better experience for them?
No Van Halen, huh?
I do have a New Jersey, so it's more Bon Jovi and Springsteen than Van Halen.
How much do we have to pay you, Michael, to put a recording of our podcast on there?
Yes, we should.
Just put a CD of a couple of our episodes. Throw that in there,
The WW Today theme song. Yeah.
Especially when I find somebody who's very in tune to what's going on at Disney. I try to find out, what websites are they visiting, where are they getting their information, and your podcast and Lou's podcast, I would say, are the 2 that I hear the most coming back.
Lou who?
Who? Was it the other person?
Jerry Lewis? What was the name?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Hey, lady!
Well, Michael, thanks for coming on and sharing some stories with us. Really appreciate it.
Oh, I had a great time.
And this episode of Walt Disney World Today is being sponsored by Owner's Locker. And when you go to an Illuminations cruise with Michael on your next trip, why not, when you go back home from your vacation, why don't you just leave all that stuff that you brought to Walt Disney World to go on that Illuminations cruise in Walt Disney World? Like, well, not on the boat, but not in your owner's locker. You can put your contact lens solution, your shampoo, shorts, other junk you're just not going to need to lug all the way back home. And Owner's Locker can do it for you. It'll be delivered to your resort on your next trip, and it's a great service that I personally use on all of my trips. So why not go on and give it a try? Visit them at www.ownerslocker.com. And that's it for us today. If you want to find our older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, visit the Walt Disney World Today website at wdwtoday.com. For Len Testa, Mike Scopa, Mike Newell, and Michael Scavetta, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.